What's going on, guys? It's Banish for Cost, and today I'm going to be bringing you the first episode in a series I'd like to call What the Deck. So in this series I'm going to be bringing you all kinds of weird and obscure decks that don't actually see a lot of competitive play or not even any play at all. And if you guys have any recommendations for a really cool deck I should go over, go ahead and drop them down in the comments below. So if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe with the post notifications as well as like the video. That will really help the channel. And I also got a Twitch and a Discord you guys can join, and I'll link those in the description below. So the first deck today I'm going to be discussing is a deck called Wight. So basically it's a deck that surrounds the topic of Skull Servant, one of the classic Yu-Gi-Oh monsters, and the purpose and goal of the deck is to get as many Skull Servants into the grave so you can power up the king monster of up to 17,000 attack.
That's a lot of damage!
So let's hop online with this deck and let's see what it can actually do. Alright guys, so what's going on? We hop over in the EDO Pro. So this is the Wight deck. It's basically a Skull Servant deck, and we got this brand new card called Wight Baking that just came over from the OCG. We don't quite have him in the TCG yet, but it's going to be a really good addition to the deck. And basically the extra deck has a really good toolbox, has a lot of really good cards and useful cards for situations like we have Trisbania here, Unicorn, Phoenix, and Cerberus, as well as Access Code Talker for like nice big attacks, and you can also do nice board wipes with him too, so that's why we're going to run him. And yeah, just really good toolbox. So I'm just going to go over the deck real quick. First up, we're going to go over Wight Baking. Basically, this is the new card, and he acts as a Skull Servant when in the graveyard. So this is the most important part about him. You can quickly summon him and then go into a relinquished Anima and get him in the graveyard. So that's going to be really cool. And then next up, we're going to be playing Triple Skull Servant himself. He's the main guy of the deck, main heart and soul, the whole deck revolves around. And the reason you want to get all of these guys in the grave is they all have the effect when they're in the graveyard, the card name becomes Skull Servant. And if you look at this guy, the boss monster of the deck, which just happens to be a level 1, you get 1,000 attack for each Skull Servant in the grave. So that's 17,000 attack this guy can get up to, which is pretty ridiculous. And if you have that in tandem with like an Access Code Talker or an Appaloosa, so it's a pretty good OTK deck. Alright, next up we got Wight Princess here. This card name becomes Skull Servant while it's in the graveyard, and if this card is normal or special summon, you can send one Wight Prince from your deck to the graveyard. So that's that, and when you have Wight Prince in the graveyard, you can send one Skull Servant and the Lady in White from your hand and / or deck to the graveyard. And then you can banish 2 Skull Servant and this card from the graveyard to special summon the King of the Skull Servants from your deck. So that's kind of like the combo that you're trying to go after. And then we have Mizuki here. So Mizuki, you can banish this card from the graveyard, target a zombie monster in your graveyard, and special summon it. So if you do have one of these monsters, or if you just want to link climb, Mizuki is going to be really good. And we have Raiden. We have a lot of Lightsworn type monsters going on here. And that's just because it is the quickest way. You can get into your Crystron Halki Fibrax. You summon your Lumina, and then you bring back one of your Raidens. So that's really cool. So then we got Plague Spreader Zombie here, and he just acts as more link fodder for your Crystron Halki Fibrax. So next up we got Solar Recharge. This is probably like the most OP card in this deck, because basically you get to discard a Lightsworn monster. So you're basically setting up your Crystron Halki Fibrax play. And then you get to Pot of Greed, and then you get to drop your Skull Servants, hopefully, into the grave. And then we have 1-for-1, send one monster from your hand to the graveyard, special summon one level 1 monster from your hand or deck. So hopefully you have one of these Skull Servants, and then you can just quickly summon a King of the Skull Servants. Okay, we have Perform a Pal Pauper up here, and this card says you can send up to 3 cards from your hand to the graveyard, and draw that many cards. Then you can special summon up to that many cards from your hands with different names that are Performapal monsters, Magician Pendulums, Odd Eyes monsters, and each with a level that doesn't matter because you don't have none of those. All we're looking for is to send up to 3 cards from your hand to the graveyard, and the special summoning is all a Ken clause, so that really doesn't matter. This is a really good card in the deck as well, so you're going to be wanting to max out and run 3 copies of those. We got Triple Lightning Storm just to basically stop any of the back row. This is kind of like, it was a little bit control, it's kind of combo now, but you can still throw in Lightning Storm and it will be really good. And then we have a Card Destruction, so you know what Card Destruction does. That's just more ways to get Skull Servant in the grave. Foolish Burial, again, Skull Servant. Monster Reborn, this is just an extender if you're trying to go for your Halki. And then we have Charge of the Light Brigade. So Charge of the Light Brigade, send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard as cost, and add 1 level 4 or lower Light Sworn monster from your deck to your hand. So Skull Servants and the Light Sworns really kind of synergize in this deck, and I really like to play them together. So the next up, we're going to go on the extra deck. We got Arced Light Sworn. So this only requires 1 tuner and 1 or more non-tuner light monsters, and once per turn you can pay 1,000 life points, target a card on the field, and banish that card. And when this card is destroyed, you can target any number of Lightsworn monsters in your graveyard, shuffle them back in your deck, and if you do, gain 300 life points for each returned card. And once per turn during your end phase, send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. So again, just hopefully you send one of your 19 Skull Servants. And then next up here we got Black Rose Dragon. So obviously it can destroy all cards on the field, but it has a really cool effect here that if you can change one of their defense position monsters to face up attack position, its attack becomes 0, and then you could attack in it with King of the Skull Servants. So that's a really cool interaction with the deck. I'm going to be playing F.A. Dawn Dragster. It's a nice negate. And we have TG Wonder Magician, so you could actually summon this card with Crystron Halki Fibrax. So if you look at it, this card is synchro summon. You can target 1 spell or trap card on the field and destroy that target. So basically, if you summon it, you quickly just MST one of the cards on the field. And if you leave a Crystron Halki Fibrax on the field, you can do that on their turn. So that's why that's in there. Access Code Talker banishes cards. Is a beefy boy, that's why we do that. Appaloosa, lots of negates. Topologic Trisbania is actually really good for those back row decks, and then you can just deal a lot of damage to it, and hopefully have enough for game. Unicorn just sends the card back to the deck, really good. Phoenix, you're gonna want to play that for any of the back row heavy decks, as well as we have Cerberus. It's just if you can't get over a monster or something. 2 Crystron Halki Fibrax just for link climbing. And then we got Barricade Borg Blocker. He's literally in here because he says you can discard 1 card. And then he has an awesome effect that says face-up spells you control cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. So that's why we run him. 1 Link Karibo, 1 level 1 monster, so we can summon Skull Servant and go into Linky. And then we have the Relinquished Anima, and that's just if you have a White Baking, you summon it, and then you can go into Relinquished Anima. And then it also has a side deck, but I'm not really going to go over those. That's all personal choice and what you're playing during the current meta. Alright, so that was the Skull Servant / White Baking deck. White Baking is an OCG card that's going to be coming out in the TCG soon, so you guys better look out for it. I think this deck is actually going to be able to see some kind of play. It'll definitely be in a rogue strategy, but it definitely has a really good toolbox of an extra deck it can take advantage of, so you're definitely going to want to keep an eye out for this deck. So if you guys have any deck suggestions, go ahead and drop them in the comments below, and I'll definitely be sure to add them to this What the Deck series. This was Banished for Cost. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video, and turn on the bell notifications so you're notified every time I drop new content. And go hit up my Twitch and Discord, and I'll leave those in the description box below. This is Banished for Cost, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.